All right, for today's video review, we are checking out the Transformers Generations Earthrise Prowl. Prowl here came in an Amazon exclusive Autobot Alliance 2-pack that included both Prowl and Earthrise Ironhide. But I'm gonna separate the reviews for them so it's not just one long video because they really are just like two separate figures that were included in the same pack. But yeah, Prowl here turns into his classic police car, looking a lot more like the original Datsun alternate mode than, of course, like his Siege version, which was supposed to be like Cybertronian, but just ends up looking like an a more futuristic, weird-looking Earth car. Like, still a little bit too close to looking like an Earth ultimate mode for me to justify that this is totally Cybertronian, but of course doesn't look like anything that exists currently on Earth, so kind of in the weird place. So, it's definitely a continuation of that Earthrise theme where it's just like, oh, they gave us really good looking figures in robot mode and Siege that just had kind of questionable alternate modes. And you're like, well, but it still looks really good, so I want to buy it. And then, of course, next year we release a figure that is actually what we wanted. And if we knew that this existed, no one would have bought this. Little scummy. I do like this mold, but this one definitely outclasses it in every single respect. But yeah, I mean, there they are together if you want to see the comparison there. The plastic on the Earthrise Prowl is a little bit more off-white than actual like bright white like this, which I feel like is probably more accurate to the original toy anyway. But yeah, they share like a design sort of transformation skeleton, but they definitely are completely different figures. All the parts are remolded, even the light bars, which I feel like didn't have to be remolded since they both just peg onto the top in both modes. But yeah, I definitely like this one better because it's got that more dropped it because it's got that more swooped back look to look more like the original Prowl toy. But if you like this one more, you can definitely just like peg it onto the top there in replacement of that one, or give him a stupid double light bar. But yeah, there they are together. Here he is with Ironhide, his of course pack mate. They look pretty good together. And then here he is with Earthrise Optimus Prime. And yeah, I feel like that scale works relatively well if Prime is somewhat of a smaller truck. Because like I think he'd probably be a little bit bigger to be proper proportions, but it's close enough for me, I'd say. Yeah, he comes with this weapon here. And yeah, it's a fine weapon. I have one complaint about it, in that like the usual complaint that I have about a lot of the recent figures is that the storage for this weapon mode is just peg it on top and call it a day, even though this isn't weapon storage. It is a way to like weaponize the car mode, which is kind of cool, but like if we're talking robots in disguise, if this is the only way for him to store his weapon in alt mode, then he does not have a weapon in robot mode because he can't be driving around like this. I don't know, kind of a pet peeve of mine. And what really bugs me about this figure in particular is that there's all this hollow space underneath here that the gun like very easily fits into, but since there's no way to actually fasten it in there, it just kind of falls out. Like there are ways, like if you try hard enough, you can kind of wedge it in there to get it to stay, but like it could have just so easily had some like small tab or something that could attach on something on the arms or on this back panel here. And they just decided not to because it wasn't a design priority, which is kind of a bummer. Like, I get it that they're not like prioritizing that, but if you've already got that much space baked into the design, just why not? I don't know. Especially since like Ironhide has integrated weapon storage for his little gun. So like I feel like it was totally possible and it was just like kind of overlooked, but whatever. To transform him, you take the doors here and you unfold them. You kind of have to like pull them out a little bit to untab them. And then you can take the arms down, rotate them down like that, and then rotate them out to the side and just leave them up like that for now. And then this whole back section here becomes his legs. So you take this section here and just unfold it, and then unfold it at the knees and rotate it around. There's a little peg that holds this together that you have to very carefully unpeg, because like on my other two versions of this mold, Smokescreen and Blue Streak, I've seen stress marks start to form there, and it's possible this one has it too, and I just can't see it because it's white plastic. But I found that like the least resistance that these pieces have is when you fold them up like this. So that's generally, I'll fold it back up like that and then carefully untab it instead of just like, you know, prying it apart with the feet up like that. And that seems to be a little bit better for the plastic. So just something to keep an eye on because that part could get weak over time. And then you take these little black sections here, which are heels, and they'll fold down. And then these little inner panels here will fold out to kind of sort of fill in the hollowness in the leg. It's nice that they tried, but it doesn't do a whole lot for that purpose. And then you take the head here and rotate it around. You don't have to rotate the head around for alt mode, but just, you know, if you want to avoid having him, you know, staring out the bottom of the car, you can definitely do that. And then this panel here on the hood, you push down and that just folds down. And then you make sure the arms are still up for this. You fold this at this hinge right here. And you have to get it so that these wheel well pieces right here go on the other side of these tabs. Otherwise, it won't really lock in properly. And then you can just kind of squeeze this section together, then fold down the arms so they go onto those little tabs. And then lastly, this hood piece here, like the piece that was the hood flap, if you just push it down a little bit extra, it kind of tabs in. It's not super necessary, but it works. And there you have Prowl in his robot mode. And yeah, he looks pretty good. I definitely think he looks a lot better than the Siege version. I was a little bit biased towards the Siege version too, because my Prowl had like super floppy loose knees, but I just think in general this one looks a lot better. And that mold looked pretty good too, honestly, but like his legs are a little bit thicker aside from the you know, huge hollowness. But yeah, I like that the chest is a bit more rounded and less broad. But yeah, he looks pretty good. I like the head sculpt too. Very a little bit more simplified, less like panel lining detail to give it that more cartoon accurate look. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Sorry about the cut there. I got a phone call, but as I was about to say, the articulation is pretty good. The head is on a ball joint, so it can tilt a little bit, and then it, of course, can rotate all the way around. The wings here can get out of the way. Well, they can't actually go much further back than this, but they can go all the way out to the side. So they will kind of get in the way of the arms a little bit. The arms are on universal joints here with a swivel and then a hinge here. What's kind of annoying is this piece doesn't tab in as well as I'd like it to. So sometimes when you lift his arms, since the shoulder joints themselves are actually pretty tight, when you lift the arms, the whole piece comes out instead of just the shoulder here. So you sort of have to like just apply downward pressure and then pull it out, just because like this does kind of tab him in to keep the body in place. So like those pieces really are supposed to stay tabbed in. So it's a little annoying that they don't lock a little bit harder in, but whatever. The thighs have just a straight swivel and then a hinge at the elbows that gets a bit over 90. And then of course a swivel at the wrist. Got a swivel at the waist. Then the hips are also on universal joints, so they can swing forward, back, not a lot because they start to hit into the back, this back black panel here. And then they can go all the way out to the side. Thigh swivel, really deep knee bend just because the legs are straight up hollow. So one nice thing about hollow legs on Transformers is they can get pretty full knee bends. With him, he's like, he can bring his knee up to his chest, which is really pretty rare for for Transformers. But yeah, he's got tilts here at the ankle, and then they can also tilt forward and back there too. So pretty useful foot articulation because they bend forward and backwards like more than they have to for transformation. So you can get some pretty wide stances out of him with some pretty funky leg poses. Here he is with his gun. Of course, you can plug it in like that, or if you want to store it, you can either use the peg that he's holding on to or either of the other ones and just peg it into the back here. Sits at kind of a weird angle. Yeah, not a big fan of this weapon overall, especially since like, yeah, they could have like put a tab on it to store it right there. I don't know if that would have been much better, but you know, it's okay. He doesn't come with the shoulder launchers like the other two versions in the mold does, because like the original Prowl design in the cartoon did not have those, even though Blue Streak and Smokescreen did. So it makes sense that they didn't include it. The other ones don't get a light bar, so sort of evens out for me, even though the light bar is probably less plastic, but whatever. I don't really need Prowl to have shoulder launchers, so that's fine with me. To show him off with the other guys. Here he is again with the Siege version of Prowl. So as you can see, like they obviously look similar because it's the same character, but no part of this mold is reused. The fists are different, the head is different, even the light bar is different. And overall, I just think he's much better proportioned than this guy. And like, I don't think I would have, like, that's not even necessarily a knock on this figure, because this guy was really good when he came out, but it's like now next to him, he just looks like kind of dumpy and weird. So I'm really happy that we got this figure, because this one was pretty good in most regards to begin with, but this one is just so much better. Here he is again with Ironhide, of course, who he shares a box with, and they look pretty good together. And then here he is with Earthrise Optimus Prime, who's just barely fitting on the frame here. But yeah, they look pretty good together too. So yeah, it's a pretty good figure overall. My only like real gripes about it are like just, you know, like the hollow legs is like, it's a little hard to avoid, but I get it. I can understand, you know, why they had to do that. And then of course I have an issue with how the gun doesn't store in alt mode, but like that's not really a knock against this figure in particular, as much as just like the current design philosophy and what the priorities are. Is just kind of a general irritation with me, but it's not something that ruins the figure for me, because really this is a very good figure. Like I'm really quite pleased with him. Like this is going to be, I think, probably the definitive Prowl in my collection for a while, unless they release another one way down the line that blows this one out of the water. But I'm totally satisfied with this figure. Looks great in alt mode, looks great in vehicle mode. It's overall just like a really fantastic figure. And Ironhide is too. I think that this one probably feels a bit more polished than Ironhide, but like as a set, the two of them together, like they're two great figures. So if you have any sort of means to get your hands on them, kind of hard to do it now after the fact, but they're definitely worth the original asking price. But yeah, if you enjoyed my video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I usually do reviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which are usually BotBots reviews. But as I explained in a couple previous videos, I'm going to be taking a break from the BotBots for a while. And because of that, I'm going to be shifting to do Tuesday, Thursday instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because the BotBots reviews are kind of easier to crank out. So I don't want to really stretch myself too thin. And then I also additionally do reviews on Sundays, which normally would be kind of different from the Monday, Wednesday, Friday reviews, or in this case, Tuesday, Thursday. But for now, they're going to be mostly the same sort of stuff. So just kind of whatever I feel like reviewing that day. My next review will probably be Ironhide, but who knows what else is going to be coming down the line. Probably a lot of Generation stuff. But yeah, in the meantime, here we have Transformers Generations Earthrise Prowl.